this government and our society will ultimately be judged by the overall level of youth unemployment. If we see youth unemployment continue to rise, that means generations of scarring of young people who don't have an opportunity to contribute to our economy, to our society, and ultimately fund our public services.
It's 64 days to the budget, and comments from the Prime Minister have set speculation about tax rises running. Andy Burnham says he won't be unrealistic about the state of the public finances and that the country is in a challenging position. The Times front page says that is a hint at tax increases in the budget. But the big business lobbying group, the CBI, says this morning it wants a tax cut, not a rise. The CBI is calling for a reduction in employers' national insurance contributions to help grow the economy. Director General of the CBI, Rain Newton-Smith, is with us this morning. Good morning, Rain.
Good morning.
Good to speak to you. So, underlying all of this is about how to get growth. That has got to be number one on Andy Burnham's list over these next few weeks, and as the budget comes around for the Chancellor at the end of October as well. We've heard that employers want a reduction in national insurance contributions, and they say that would help grow the economy. Just help us understand how that would happen.
Well, I think this report that we have out today is particularly about our young people in the UK. Youth unemployment in the UK is now above the European average, and the business leaders I speak to care deeply about this issue. They want to be creating more opportunities for our young people, investing and creating jobs. But actually, the costs of hiring, the costs of employment have gone up so much that it's now holding back their ability to invest and create jobs. And so what we're saying is we want the Chancellor to consider a targeted increase in the national insurance threshold, because what we're finding from businesses is that the overall cost of hiring has gone up, and in fact national insurance contributions went up by 27% in just 1 year.
In terms of the lobbying on behalf of businesses, of course they want less business tax, but they also need healthy workers, educated workers, a country that has strong defences, a country with good transport systems, and so there is an interest, isn't there, on behalf of business in paying for those things?
Absolutely. Businesses want to see well-funded public services. And so what they absolutely want to see, as you said it in the introduction, is growth in our economy. Growth is the answer that leads to higher tax receipts, that helps our public services be sustainable over the long term. And of course, it's not surprising that some of the attention in this report has focused around tax, but we have a whole range of measures where businesses are willing to roll up their sleeves and really help create opportunities, whether it's funded work experience placements by Macdonald, who have pledged to create over 2,500 work experience places, particularly for young people who've been out of employment or training, or whether it's National Grid, who are funding over 5,000 people who have been out of work and want to bring them back into work. So I think there are many areas where businesses want to play their part, and we need to see well-funded public services. But this government and our society will ultimately be judged by the overall level of youth unemployment. If we see youth unemployment continue to rise, that means generations of scarring of young people who don't have an opportunity to contribute to our economy, to our society, and ultimately fund our public services.
What allowed Macdonald and National Grid to run those schemes where other companies are not willing or able to do so?
Those are just two examples that I'd highlight. All businesses are creating jobs, creating opportunities in their local communities. The business leaders I speak to are really concerned about youth unemployment. And one of the things they say to me is, look, we want to be creating more jobs and opportunities. We see the challenges for our young people, and they want to work hand in hand with government in creating some of those opportunities. But equally, if you just increase the cost of hiring year upon year, you can't expect us to see greater job creation. So I think it's about a rounded package that will really help to reduce that cost of doing business, and that will help to address the broader cost of living challenge and create the growth and investment that this nation needs.
Yeah, I suppose my point is that they are able to run those schemes under the current circumstances. So are you saying that that the Macdonald's work experience scheme would be far bigger if employers' national insurance contributions were removed?
Well, look, we can't remove national insurance contributions at all. It's the biggest contribution.
Sure. Sorry,
in
but
terms
if
of
they
tax.
were reduced.
And I think importantly, we're asking for a targeted cut to really help focus on the overall cost of employment. We're not asking for the big increase in national insurance contributions to be reversed in its entirety. This is really about a targeted measure to really get employment growth going, because we've seen vacancies in our economy fall from 1.2 million to 700,000. So, and in particular, those opportunities have fallen in hospitality and retail, in many of the jobs that our young people often use as a stepping stone into their broader careers. And of course, many people work in their local communities for years in these industries. And so they really are the engine of our everyday economy.
Yeah. The challenges are huge for business. We get that, higher national insurance contributions, the living wage, the Employment Rights Act, energy bills, all of these things, of course, contribute to difficulties for business. I wonder as well if there's a concern from business about things like 0 hours contracts. That's part of the consideration, I think, today, about the restrictions, I suppose, that may come in on 0 hours contracts and whether they will be barriers to opportunities.
Well, the government is consulting on 0 hours contracts, and that consultation ends today. And what we're saying to the government is business is behind getting rid of exploitative 0 hours contracts. We think after a period of time, if people have been working a set amount of hours, they should be able to ask for an equivalent contract if that's what they want, an equivalent permanent contract. But to end all flexible contracts really just means fewer opportunities for our young people and in our economy. So if a young person wants to work for a music festival over the summer, if they want to balance supporting wedding events, these are seasonal work. And actually, a lot of young people, as we know, want to work while they are studying, and that's how they help fund their studies. It's really important for social mobility. And that work experience is vital for young people. And if you eliminate those flexible contracts entirely, you are reducing the overall number of opportunities in our economy.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is we want to sit down with unions, sit down with the government, and make this Employment Rights Act work so that it doesn't reduce those opportunities and doesn't make it harder for businesses to take a risk on young people. So we're not saying get rid of it entirely. We're saying sit down with us, make this policy workable, set the level of hours at the right level, and make sure that you look at that over the course of a year rather than just 12 weeks.
Rain Newton-Smith, thank you very much. Thanks for speaking to us this morning. Rain Newton-Smith is Director General of the CBI. I do wonder, with the front page of the Times this morning, realistic Burnham hints at tax increases in budget. What you've just heard as well from Rain Newton-Smith from the CBI. Is there a world in which, and this, considering where we might get to the next couple of months, is there a world in which Andy Burnham could convince you of the need to raise income tax, VAT, or national insurance contributions and do an about turn on that Labour Party manifesto? Is that a possibility that you are willing to abide?